On Steve Forbes from Wake Forest now. You have a question for? Good morning.
Morning.
If you have a question for Steve, go ahead, use the raise hand tool. If you're just joining and need access to record, send me a note in the chat window. And the first question will come from John Dell. Go ahead, John.
Steve, I know the last 3 games there's been, here or there, hit or misses. What have you seen? What's maybe the biggest thing that you guys are trying to correct here as you head into Duke?
Just win, score a couple more points. We've been right there against Virginia, right there against Pitt, NC State, all kind of different games, but we just haven't gotten over the hump. And so we've got to continue to learn and watch film and, correct our mistakes. Some of it is getting a stop once in a while. Some of it is better offense, and there's a fine line in a lot of these games. And unfortunately, the last 3, just haven't gone our way. And so you come back and you watch film, and I've remained very positive, with our team, and that we can flip it pretty quick. And great time to do it will be tomorrow night when we go on the road at Duke.
Connor O'Neill, go ahead, sir.
Steve, to kind of stay on those lines, you talked on Saturday after the game about staying positive with this team. I mean, what's the line you've got to kind of thread the needle there with staying positive and getting them to understand that it's not like they're getting blown out of these games? How have you kind of approached that?
I think it's just how you deliver the message. Some teams handle constructive criticism better than others, and that's part of being a coach, is you have to know what buttons you could push and what buttons you can't push. And I've always been somebody that doesn't lose their mind after a loss, typically, sometimes, but not very much. They're already feeling bad. They want to win just as bad as or more than anybody. And so you try to build up their confidence, and they're a confident group. It's hard to practice when you're playing these many games like this. We don't have much prep time, and so last night was just a walkthrough and film. But they had good frame of mind, and we'll practice again today at 2, and then go down to Duke and get some shots up tonight and practice over there tomorrow. But I think it's just again having them understand and being accountable. I talked to them about that after the game, about being able to look in the mirror and understand what you have to be accountable for, what you have to get better at, and do it. And we all do, me included. And so I think that's the path you got to stay on.
Just to follow up there, what is there anything in particular you'll look for today or maybe in the game tomorrow night that will let you know that kind of they've responded well, or is it just going to be a look up at the final score at the end of the game type of thing?
Well, I mean, that's how we're judged, but I think that against Duke, obviously they're their best offensive rebounding team in the league. And, if we're doing a good job on the glass and we're taking care of the ball and we're getting good shots, then we're there, and I think that's going to be really important tomorrow night. I think it's really important in every game. I thought Saturday, we got rushed on. We only turned it over 6 times, but we had 15 possessions where I thought we just took rush shots, not typical of the way we play offense. And that puts a lot of pressure on our defense. And so I think going back and playing to your fundamentals and doing the things that you're taught, we'll look for those kind of things. And, and if hopefully we'll do that. I expect that we will, and it'll be a hard fought game.
Go next to Cam Lemons Debro. Sorry if I butchered your name there.
All good. Steve, hey Steve, the 5 has kind of been a big question mark for the fans, at least in terms of just, questioning what's going on there. It felt like in the first half that the guys did a really good job against Burns. In the second half, you kind of turned things on. What are I guess the question keeps being, what are you looking for these guys, moving on step by step, game by game, and how do you look for them to respond?
Yeah, I understand that. First of all, I made a comment Saturday after the game about 14,000 coaches in the stands wanting me to double the post. And, that wasn't necessary. That's not indicative of how I feel about the fans. And, I try to be very conscientious and intentional about what I say and how I say something. to the media, and that comment was disingenuous on my part. And I shouldn't have said that, but you know, nobody, and I mean nobody appreciates the fans more than I do here, because they've come back and together we've made the Joel a really, tough place to play. And listen, it was a strategy that, that we went into the game knowing that, number one, we had to take them out of transition. They're the best transition team in the league. For the most part, we did. They got 11 points. They did make 1-3 at the end of the half that hurt us. We got hurt in the ball screen against Pitt. We went to drop coverage second half, and they only got 2 baskets against man. So we went to the drop and decided on Saturday that we weren't going to give up 3, that we were going to make them beat us 2-2. And so we went drop coverage. We didn't help on the roll. We got out on the shooters, made them shoot tough 2s. And we had to rebound that ball. And anytime they get +10, then they're good. They're going to win. And they got 13. And then we knew at the end, when we shut down basically the ball screen, they were going to go to the post. And then it was just a matter of, do we double or not? And we made the decision not to, because he's such an elite, Burns is an elite passer. And they just torch teams that double him. And Kevin said that after the game. And so we tried to, make a miss with a strong body between and a wall up. And first half we did, second half not as effective. And so late in the game, he was getting going, so I had to go to the double. The first double wasn't fundamentally sound by the guard. He stepped threw it to the corner. LJ Thomas banged a 3. Second time we doubled him, Appleby did better. He kicked it out, got a 3, but missed it. I went 1-3-1 the next possession and tried to switch it up. Didn't do a good job. They threw it over the top, made a 3 in the corner. So they made 2 threes on 3 possessions. So I went back to man. Matthew, the guy's posting him at 3-point line. He's got to have a stronger body than that. He made it tough to get him that close to the basket. He made a tough running hook. He got a foul that I thought was a questionable call. And then I went with Damari, and Damari got a foul. And then Damari got him to kick it out down 1, and it went right through Cam's hands. And we could have stole that ball and laid it up. And then it went right to Cravion. He made a great play to go up 3. And then we got a good look at it to tie it. But totally my decision on how to defend that post, going 2-2, not 3-3. And, we needed a couple more stops. It didn't work, but that's totally on me, not on them. But they got to continue to improve just like everybody else, and that's kind of where we're at with it.
Go next to David Teal.
Steve, since arriving at Wake, what have been your impressions of how Bill Packer is a part of the fabric there and throughout the conference?
Well, Dave, I didn't grow up in ACC country, but Billy's the first person that I could tell you, probably Billy and the NC State team that won the national title, 74? This is my first memories of the ACC. Billy's the first memory I have of Wake Forest basketball. I watched the 75 game when Wooden's last national championship game. He did it, I believe, and I watched all of them up into 08 when Chalmers made the 3 to beat Memphis. But I didn't have cable TV. I didn't have Pilot. So, but he was the voice of college basketball, and so I heard him do a lot of games. During the 70s and 80s. In the early 80s, they came to Cedar Rapids, Iowa, right by my hometown, and did the Big Ten ACC All-Star game at the Five Seasons Center in Cedar Rapids. But most importantly, Billy's responsible for my first technical in college. And I use this when I speak at clinics. I always talk about you got to be who you are. And in 1989, I was watching a game that him and Enberg and McGuire were doing with Indiana. And Billy's like, oh, Bobby Knight's working the refs. He's getting those calls because he's working those refs hard. So I thought, well, I guess I better work the refs. So I went to Southwestern Community College, probably against Iowa Central the next night, and I worked the refs, and they teed me up. So I thought, well, that didn't work for me. So Billy, God rest his soul, he got me my first technical. But I got to know Mark well. I mean, I'm so dang. I did the Packer and Durham show when I got the job and didn't realize Mark Packer was his son. That's how stupid I am. And then I had to apologize to Mark. Have a great relationship with Mark. His dad's called me a couple of times before he passed. Yeah, he's obviously in is a big name here at Wake and always will be, and in my mind, for me too. I mean, like I said, he was the first person that I can remember besides David Thompson, Monty Tal, Tom Burleson, who I met in Bristol, Virginia, over Christmas recruiting, that I can remember, about the ACC.
Thank you.
We'll squeeze one quick one in from Patrick Engel. Go ahead, Patrick.
Steve, and you kind of defied the idea of like long rebuilds, and I know that's not as much of a thing anymore. And part of the reason why being the good transfers and new rules with transfers. When you took the job, I guess, how big an emphasis were transfers when you got there? Just not just in like building a roster, but in the idea that like they could help your team be competitive pretty quickly, like you were able to be with Alondas and Laravia and now Tyree this year.
Well, it was a way for us to get competitive a lot quicker. But like Mike said earlier, Notre Dame and Wake Forest are two different animals when it comes to recruiting transfers based on the academic piece. So it's not as easy as most people probably think that it is. But it was definitely a way for us to get momentum in the program, to get older quicker, and to have a chance for our fans to have some hope, and we did that last year, winning 25 games, and Linus was the player of the year, and Jake was the first round draft choice, and Dallas Walton and Hadim C played really well. This year we've got good transfers again. Ty Appleby, Andrew Carr, Mari Monsanto. Those guys are, playing at a really high level. So, I think it's a combination. You have to take advantage of certain phases in recruiting. The summer and the falls for high school. The spring is for what Mike said, for what maybe high school players are left that can play in the ACC, and that may be coaching changes. And then there's transfer portal, and then there's international. And so I think you have to take advantage of all of them. NIL has changed a lot of that. There's been more change in recruiting in the last couple of years in my 34 or 5 years of coaching. NIL, it's not really recruiting. It's recruiting and then a negotiation. I don't like it. And I agree with Mike, it's pay for play. And nobody's going to tell you that on the front end. To think that it's never going to be about money is naive. And so hopefully the NCAA can get their arms wrapped around it. Mike has faith in that. I don't have a lot of faith in it because I haven't seen him really do anything about it.
Thanks, Steve.
Steve, thank you for the time today. Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we will